My name is Mike, just an ordinary guy who spends his days under the scorching sun, tearing his fingers to the bone on a construction site. My alarm clock rings at the crack of dawn, and I pull myself out of bed with a groan, knowing that the day ahead will not be easy. It's hard work lifting heavy loads, maneuvering mechanisms, and doing everything possible to make the building rise at least a little higher by the end of the day. I think there is nothing extraordinary in my story. I'm just one of those guys who works tirelessly to provide for his family. You see, my family is not rich, but we have each other. It is a cohesive unit, connected by love and random struggle. You know, my dad used to be a big shot at his job. He returned home with stories about important meetings, business trips, and deals made. Mike, I'm already home. Do you want to tell me about how I met a little kitten on the train? I decided to buy it and give it to you. Hurrah! Thank you very much, Dad, for this gift. But that was a different time. Now he is stuck in a rut, dismissed from this high position, and is struggling with the burden of depression, which is a heavy burden on his shoulders. From morning to evening, he lies on this sofa, not taking his eyes off the TV screen, and the hours fly by unnoticed. It's hard to see how someone you've always looked up to becomes just a shadow of yourself. He is detached, lost in his thoughts, often snaps at my mom for no apparent reason. He's not the same man who picked me up after school and took me for ice cream or taught me how to throw a baseball. Despite all this, I can't help but love him. After all, a family is a family. Even when he's in a bad mood, even when he yells at my mom for nothing, I remember the times when he cheered me on from the side, celebrated my victories, and hugged me when life became difficult. So, I'm working. I work for him, for my mom, for myself. I work for hours, sweat myself out, and give most of the money to my dad so he can buy groceries. It's not an easy life, but it's the life we have, and we make it work. I have a hard day job, but as long as I can set the table and keep our family together, I will continue to swing this hammer and push these wheelbarrows, no matter how difficult the circumstances. You know, there's something about taking responsibility for your family that changes you. My old man may be lost in his own world, fighting his own demons, but I'm not going to let our ship sink. I wake up every morning, even before the sun has time to stretch its rays across the sky, and immediately get down to business. The construction site becomes my second home, a place where I can change something. When beads of sweat appear on my forehead and my muscles ache with tension, I remind myself why I'm doing this. The salary I bring home is intended not only for me, but also for my family. This is for my mom, who somehow manages to keep the house in order, no matter what. This is for my dad, who, I know, is struggling with all his might, even if he doesn't say it out loud. When you grow up in a family where every penny counts, you learn the true value of hard work. Every nail you hammer, every brick you lay, it's like you're building something more than just structures, you're building the future. I watch the sunrise and sunset, and in between I put my whole heart and soul into my work. My colleagues are becoming more than just colleagues. I'm heading straight home after work. I open the creaking door and find Mom in the kitchen. Mom, I'm home. I've earned some money and I really want to eat. Missed you a lot.
Son, I missed you very much too. Go wash your hands and sit down at the table.
Mom's hands are busy preparing food from what we have. The fragrance fills the air, and for a moment it seems that all the difficulties of this day are evaporating. Mom, here you go. Today I managed to earn more. I hope this will be enough. I give back the money I earned, and even though it's not much, I know it matters. This is a reminder that, despite the difficult times, we are in this together. My father may be distant, lost in his own world, but he is still a member of the family. And family means something. So when I put my head on the pillow every night, I find solace in the fact that I'm doing my part. The burden of responsibility is heavy, but it is also a reminder of the love and devotion that bind us all together. It was just another day at the construction site. The sun was shining in the sky, and the sounds of cars filled the air. But I had no idea that the moment I crossed the threshold that evening, my world was ready to turn upside down. I walked in, tired but happy after a hard day's work, only to see my mother sitting in an armchair, her face bathed in tears. My heart sank like a stone. Mom, what's wrong? She looked up at me with reddened and swollen eyes and took a deep breath before speaking.
Mike, I learned something today.
Her hands were shaking as she wiped away a tear, and my insides clenched in anticipation. She hesitated for a moment, as if gathering the strength to continue, then finally revealed the truth that shook the foundation of our family. It turns out that my father has been dating another woman for the past 6 months. A chill ran down my spine as her words hung in the air. The father I knew, the man who had been by my side since I was a child, led a double life. My mind was working feverishly, trying to digest this stunning news. But how? Why? After all, he has us. Why would he go out and sleep with another woman?
Mike, you're still very young and you don't understand a lot. Your dad decided to look for something new in life.
I understand everything, but my father told me that family is the most important and most valuable thing in life. Did he lie to me? My mom explained how her friend saw them, my dad and another woman walking hand in hand in a park in the city center. It was a scene I couldn't even imagine. While my mom was talking, the room became stuffy. My ideas about family, about loyalty, about the bonds that held us together, collapsed like a sandcastle during a storm. The walls that protected my childhood memories suddenly seemed thin and fragile, ready to collapse at any moment. I sank down on the sofa, covering my face with my hands, unable to comprehend the scale of what I had just heard. It just can't be. It seems to me that this is just a dream. It was like a nightmare, a surreal turn of events that I couldn't wake up from. The father I admired, whom I turned to for advice, became a stranger in an instant. Eventually, when the shock started to subside, I looked at my mom. She was hurt too, and at that moment I realized that we were both victims of this betrayal.
I suspected him of cheating for a long time, but I didn't want to believe it. Now everything has been revealed and I do not know how to act.
Our fragile bonds were put to the test, and now we had to make a choice, to collapse under the weight of the truth or find a way to heal, rebuild, and redefine what family means to us. Mom, don't worry at all. I'm definitely not leaving you. I will continue to work and help our family. After my mother's revelation, the following days were continuous confusion and pain. The image of my father walking hand in hand with another woman haunted my thoughts day and night. I spent hours scrolling through memories in my head, trying to find at least some hints of that other life that he led. How could I have missed it? My mom moved like a ghost. Her eyes were full of sadness. I could see the pain etched on her face, a reflection of my own inner turmoil. And my father? Well, he continued to sit on that couch, immersed in his world of TV shows and distractions. It was like he was pretending that everything was fine, that the life he had built was still intact. But it wasn't like that. Not anymore. The most difficult thing was the constant tug of war inside me. On the one hand, I still loved my father. I remembered how he carried me on his shoulders, the fairy tales he read at night, the laughter we shared. But on the other hand, there was anger and frustration, a deep-rooted sense of betrayal. One evening I found myself sitting in my room staring at an old family photo. My parents were smiling from the frame, hugging each other, and I was standing in the middle, grinning from ear to ear. We have always been a friendly family and have always done a lot of good things for each other. Why did he do that? Our family will never be the same again. The foundations of trust and security were shaken to the core, and there was no turning back. But one day a ray of light entered my life in the form of a man. Her name was Emily, and she was a ray of sunshine even on the most cloudy day. We met by chance, as if fate had decided that I needed a break from the turmoil. Hi, have we met before?
Hello, handsome. It seems to me that we have known each other all our lives.
Emily knew how to make me forget about my worries, at least for a while. Her laughter was like a melody that drowned out the noise of my restless thoughts. We would meet after work, often just sitting on a park bench, talking about everything in the world. It was at such moments that I could distract myself from the burden of my family's problems and just be myself. She listened without judgment as I poured out my heart, sharing the pain and confusion that became my constant companions. And she understood, maybe not completely, but enough to offer comfort and support. It was as if she was helping me put together the pieces of my shattered world. Our bond grew stronger and stronger, and it wasn't long before I realized that she was the one I wanted to spend my life with. One evening, when we were sitting together under a sky painted in orange and pink tones, I turned to her and shared my thoughts. Emily, I've been wanting to tell you for a long time. I really like you and I want to live with you all my life.
I think you're reading my mind. I'm thinking about it too.
From that moment on, I worked even harder on the construction site, working overtime to ensure a better financial position for the future. Emily, in turn, was a constant source of support and encouragement, encouraging me at every step. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Every day I had a new sense of purpose. Problems that once seemed insurmountable now felt like stepping stones to a brighter future. Emily and I were a team, and together we were determined to forge a path that would defy circumstances, and then came the moment I dreamed of. I was finally financially secure. It was a turning point that filled me with pride not only for myself, but also for the future that I could now offer Emily. With a newfound confidence, I looked into her eyes and asked a question. Emily, are you ready to marry me and live with me for the rest of your life? Her eyes filled with tears of joy as she nodded, her smile lighting up the world around us. It was a moment of pure happiness, a confirmation that in the midst of chaos and struggle, love can still flourish. We started planning our wedding, and just the thought of it filled me with excitement. Every decision we made, every detail we discussed, was a testament to the life we were building together. My mom, who always supported me, was over the moon with happiness. She saw the happiness that Emily brought into my life, and that was all that mattered to her. When I sat next to Emily and looked at the ring on her finger, I realized that life gives me a second chance at happiness. As the days leading up to the wedding drew to a close, the question hung in the air like a heavy cloud: should I invite my dad? The turmoil of our family's past still echoed in my heart, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he should be a part of this momentous event. Emily, I have a difficult question to solve. Can you come over, please?
Don't worry, any issues can be solved. I'm listening to you.
Sitting with Emily, we discussed all the pros and cons of distributing this invitation. She listened carefully, offering her point of view and reminding me that forgiveness is a powerful thing. We agreed that the family, even with all its imperfections, occupies the first place in our hearts. Encouraged by Emily, I made a decision. I was going to invite my dad to the wedding. It was a bold move that would put our strained relationship to the test. But I felt that this could be an opportunity for healing, a chance to bridge the gap that had formed between us. One morning I went to his door. My heart was pounding like a drum. I knocked softly, waiting, holding my breath. When he opened the door, it was as if I saw a ghost from my past. The wrinkles on his face have become deeper, fatigue is more noticeable. But he was still my father. Summoning all my courage, I stumbled through the words. "Hi, Dad. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about something." I took a deep breath and looked into his eyes. "Emily and I are getting married, and I would like you to be there. It would mean a lot to me." His face changed, his eyes narrowed, as if he was preparing for an argument. And then came words like a storm brewing beneath the surface. "You haven't come to me for so long. I will come to your wedding only with my new family." Hearing this, my heart sank. It was painful. It was painful to realize that despite my efforts, despite my willingness to forgive, the gap between us remained. With a heavy heart, I walked away from his door, the weight of disappointment settled in my chest. I hoped that the invitation would be a step towards reconciliation, a chance for us to correct what was violated. But sometimes reality does not match our hopes, and the pain of realizing this was almost unbearable. As the days of my wedding approached, a whirlwind of preparations and emotions reigned in my head. But in the midst of this chaos, there were moments when I was lost in a sea of memories from the past. Memories of the time when our family was united, when laughter echoed through our house, and when life seemed easier. I found myself sitting in the room of my childhood, surrounded by faded posters and worn-out toys, lost in my thoughts. It was like flipping through an old photo album, each memory a snapshot frozen in time. I remembered hiking, cycling, and moments when my dad and I had a common bond that seemed unbreakable. It was during these moments of memories that I felt a twinge of nostalgia. I missed the way things used to be, the days when my father was a pillar of strength and my family felt invincible. The wedding day came, and the air was filled with anticipation. Friends and family gathered, and the atmosphere was electrified with happiness and love. As I stood at the altar, waiting for Emily to walk down the aisle, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of nervousness and excitement. The ceremony was beautiful, filled with vows and promises that came from the heart. Emily and I exchanged rings, sealing our commitment to each other. I looked at my mom, tears of joy shone in her eyes, and I realized that despite the difficulties, we were here, united as a family. During the reception, when the air was filled with laughter and music, I found myself surrounded by loved ones. It was a moment of celebration, a reminder that life should be cherished and shared with those who are most important in the world. But even in the midst of this fun, there was a quiet pain, a place that my father had to take. When the evening came to an end, I took a moment of solitude. I went to a quiet corner of the hall and looked at the stars, lost in my thoughts. Emily found me there, her hand sliding into mine. She understood the thoughts that were going through my head without words.
Remember, I'm always with you. And I will support you in any situation.
And at that moment, I realized that I was exactly where I was destined to be. With her by my side, I was ready to face the unknown, to accept the trials and joys that awaited me ahead. How do you like this story? Did this guy do everything right? Write your opinion in the comments. I will also be glad to have your subscription to my channel. I love you.